welcome. We are finally here. It is finally Vengeance Day. We are 9 weeks away from Stand and Deliver, but first, we've got to get through the Vengeance. And unfortunately, that means talking about Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. It means talking about Ilja Dragunov. Thankfully, it also means talking about the Wolf Dogs and Baron Corbin and Bron Breakker. Yes. But me and Astrid couldn't do something like this alone. We definitely need to bring in a partner to do this. We've got the wonderful Shay Sawyer joining us. Hello.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. How are you guys?
So tell our people a little bit about what you do and what you do on a weekly basis and where you've come from and all that kind of stuff.
So I have my own podcast, the Big Pop Theory podcast. We have a new episode that's usually on Spotify, Google Podcast, and Apple every Monday. We basically talk about, with my podcast, we like to keep it always with the story. Like, we don't really like to do too much with the current event stuff. We just like to keep it talking about the wrestling and the stories throughout the week. That's, any company. We don't leave off anyone. So that's that. And then on Tuesdays, obviously for bodyslam.net, I am doing the Meta 2 after show with In Cat We Trust directly after NXT. And occasionally I do Collision on Unpopular Review. And we're going to be starting with TNA on Thursdays on Unpopular Review soon too.
There we go. Oh, so you bring up the Meta 2. We've got to talk about this because I am the biggest non-supporter of Metaphor in the world. I'm the biggest hater of Metaphor I think that exists. Right, Astrid? Is that safe to say?
That sounds very accurate.
I love 3 of these 4 people as individual acts, and then one of them I could honestly care less about. I think Lash Legends is probably a wonderful person. Oh. However, if I didn't have to see her wrestle again, it wouldn't hurt me at all. I think Jakara Jackson is fantastic, and I think that she's got a lot of upside. I think she's learning a lot. I think she's doing a lot of good things. I think Oro Mensah has something special. Yes, he reminds me of Kofi Kingston. Not necessarily a bad thing. I want to see the next evolution of him at some point. And then Noam Dar is fantastic, but when you put them all together, it just melts my brain. To no end. What do you think of Metaphors? You have the Meta 2.
I love them. Listen, I love goofiness. Like, I'm a fan of like goofiness. And they definitely bring that. You have Noam, who is obviously like a fantastic wrestler. I love him. I've like been so pro Noam since I first saw him when he came up in the NXT UK, the tournament. I was like, that's it. I'm a fan, and it's never changed. I actually really love Lash. Like, I think
I understand I'm in the minority with Lash. Like, she's getting better. I will admit that she's at least improving, but she's improving at the rate, and I hate to do this. She's improving at the rate that Ilja improved. Like, people forget, Ilja was there when Sasha and Bayley were main eventing NXT shows, and she barely got out of NXT. And it's just like, I like Ilja. I think she's great. But at the same point, when you invest that much time and effort into developmental talent, at some point, it's almost time to cut bait. And I know why they're not with Lash. Lash has everything they want. And some of it is business related with, you can get into a market with her. You have Jade Cargill, you have Bianca Belair. Lash Legends is another key piece of a market that needs to be seen, and especially this month. Needs to be seen, needs to be appreciated. But at the same time, I just want people who are going to be part of that to be talented in what they do. And if all Lash Legend did was do lashing out, that'd be great. I'd be all on board.
I did love those. I kind of get what I get what you're saying. That's like she's moving at a snail pace compared to like her, co-partners, like everyone's around her. She's moving at a pace a little bit slower, and that can be a little bit like why is it taking so long type of mindset. So I kind of get it, but I'm like one of those people. I'm like, oh, I'm very patient. Obviously, even with today, with current things that are going on, the news on Twitter. I'm a patient person, so I can wait for someone to finish a story. Like, I'm not like in a rush. But
I'll give you a hot take. I think this is the best option. I'll be honest. I'm gonna be in the minority. I don't care if Cody finishes his story at WrestleMania. The big money match is doing Rock. You do the Rock. You've been waiting for 2 years to do the Rock thing. Do the Rock thing.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a long time. Like, everyone has been. I thought I was a little confused at the switch up. I mean, I get it. Everyone wants Cody to finish his story, but it's like, this match has been a thing. People have wanted this match even before Cody had a story to finish in WWE. So I'm like, of course this is taking precedence right now.
Cody was still playing Homelander in the other company when people wanted to see this guy. Like, he was still Homelander. But enough talking about current events, enough talking about things that aren't on the show, like Metaphor, unfortunately. Like I said, I wish No Imdar was on this show. I wish he had a big Heritage Cup match on this show, because Lord knows the last Heritage Cup match wasn't much to talk about.
No.
I felt bad for him on that. We're going to start when we think NXT is going to start, which is the Dusty Cup Finals, because Double Duty Trick, DDT himself, is pulling double duty, and we've got Trick Mellow Gang taking on the Wolf Dogs. As Baron Corbin apparently mentioned 3 times in the promo this week, according to Bron Breaker's counting.
He accepted it.
Shay, your thoughts on the Dusty Cup as a whole in this particular final?
So, I gotta be honest, I wasn't a fan of the fact that there weren't any real tag teams to make it to the final. Like, that was kind of something that kind of annoyed me. But I was like, you know what? Some years you get a tag team, sometimes you don't. I mean, the first Dusty Cup was won by, Finn and Samoa Joe. So I can't, be too picky with these things. And I know they wanted to have Bron. They want to make sure Bron's on the card. Of course, that's like a priority. Same thing with Carmelo. You have to have him on the card. And this will be a great story. It kind of reminds me similar to like the whole thing with like, Daniel Bryan when he had multiple matches that won WrestleMania. Like, I think this will make him, way over with the crowd, even more than he already is. Like, geez. But I think it'll definitely give everyone like, oh my God, he's just doing it. He's knocking out the park. But a part of me really wants the Wolf Dogs to win.
Astrid, what about you? What are your thoughts here on the Wolf Dogs versus
I hate this. I'm like right in the middle. I'm like, a lot of people know I don't care for Bron Breakker. Is he doing great things? Yes, he is. Can he go to the main roster? Yes, please already. Be gone. I really don't care about you like that. But Baron Corbin is in this match. Like, that man, I love that man so much. How can I root against him? But I have to, because it's Trick Mello on the other side. Like, there's no denying that. Like, I want to see Trick at the end of the night with 2 championships on his shoulder. Like, that's the picture that I have in my mind right now.
We jumped the gun on this whole 2 championship trick. Once they win this, they still have to then take on the tag team champions in another time. But I do love the idea of 2.
That visual, though, just like I want that visual with him holding both championships and make himself even better than Carmelo. That I want that and the like rivalry going on. So that's what I'm like. Who do I pick? But I can't pick against Trick Mello. It has to happen. It definitely has to be. I can't do it. Sorry, Baron. Don't at me.
Oh, I'm gonna send this. We're gonna make a short of this and send it to Baron Corbin himself. I love Trick Mello Gang. I will never root against Trick Mello Gang. And as much as I love the tag team camaraderie between Baron Corbin and Bron Breakker, and it's fantastic. These 2 should not work, but they do. They've brought out a funny side of Bron Breakker that we didn't know existed. We kind of thought it might. It had to. I mean, he was dating Cora Jade. There had to be a positive quality somewhere. And apparently he's funny when in the right environment. So I love that for him. He's getting a chance to show a more rounded character, get people to fall more in love with who he is and what he can do. That being said, and what Shay said, I think there is a tag team kind of, sort of, because I'd call Trick Mello a tag team. Like, they're 2 guys who run together all the time. Since Trick Williams showed up, it's always been Trick and Mello. They've always kind of been a package deal. So at least they're at least sort of a tag team, which makes it better than Bron and Baron, who are just coming together for the tournament. Samoa Joe and Finn, who came together for the tournament. These guys are at least sort of a tag team, which makes it a little bit better in my mind. But I think if you're telling the story of Trick Williams, it depends on how you want the story to end. And I hate using the word story because but no. Depending how you want Trick's night to play out, this has to play out one of two ways. If the heel turn happens tonight, it has to be that they lose. The loss is the catalyst that makes Melo turn on Trick. So if they lose here, I think that's the catalyst that we know we're getting the heel turn tonight. If they win here, I think the heel turn comes another few weeks down the road, and we kick the can to what I think is going to be Roadblock in March. I believe they have a special Tuesday night Roadblock coming up in a few weeks. And I think that's where the tag team title match is going to take place. I've been fantasy booking Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes for the last 6 months. I might as well continue here. If it's me, they win this match here. Carmelo Hayes helps Trick win the main event. And then we get KO and Sami Zayn. Shawn Michaels is not opposed to redoing great storylines. The story with Trick being attacked by Carmelo is another version of that. Roxanne passing out after having the match with Miko Satomura is another version of Shawn Michaels redoing his greatest storylines. I think he's going to take a piece of NXT history this time. And I think we're going to see Melo turn on Trick after Trick wins the title. Now, it might be after they win the tag titles, but I think it's going to be one of those things where Melo's going to get to a point where he can't handle this. But I think to get to that point, Trick needs to win. And so for that one, I'm going to go with Trick Melo to win here. But if the Wolf Dogs win, I think it's going to be a very sad night the rest of the night for me.
Yes.
Any other thoughts from anybody else before we move on?
No, let's move on from the heartbreak.
I also do want to mention, for those that haven't seen it on Twitter already, please make sure you go see Josiah Williams at J. Dean Williams. He has a brand new Wrestle and Flow out. And of course, it is the one and only Trick Williams. You need to check it out. It is fantastic. Go give the man a like. Go give him a repost on the X. He is fantastic. And it's about time we got the Trick Williams remix. I'm really disappointed in only one thing. There's no Booker T ad-libs in the wrestling as well.
Yep.
We move on to the horror movie villain taking on the bad man about justice. We've got Joe Gacy taking on Dijak. And look at how happy Dijak is to be on this card. Look at that happy face. I think we should probably, just for this match, because of how big of a fans we are of these guys.
Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead and talk about Joe Gacy, the horror movie villain.
This man, I can tell you, he's a horror movie villain in real life and in NXT too. No, I like what I like about this character for him is that being that he's such a horror fan that he's able to apply a little bit of that into his character now. And it's like, it doesn't happen often that you get to like pull it off the way he does. And it's working out for him. And I really love it. And it just makes me curious to like what else is going on in his head, because to be honest, we only got glimpses of it so far. So I'm just curious about what's going on in that mind. But yeah, I love the character so far and what he's doing here. I like how he's annoying Dijak because of this too. And to be honest, the way that they were just fighting on that trailer, that was just priceless, and it just made me laugh on top of it. So I'm rooting for this match too after this. The thing I wouldn't know where to pick though, because I want to pick Gacy because obviously I love Gacy, but I feel like Dijak should get a win though.
Dijak feel like he needs a win, but Shay, what do you think about this match? No disqualifications.
I'm still trying to figure out how they climbed up on that truck mid-fight. Did they say, hold up? Get it. But I don't know. The thing about Joe Gacy is he's been having a lot of roadblocks with like his stuff kind of like getting fully over. Like it's like it kind of reaches and like falls flat. But he has like such a really great creative mind. It's like you need someone like that. He can keep reinventing himself, just like straight, just coming out. Like you need people like that in wrestling. And so it's like, as many times as he has to start over, I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there. So I don't know, because I really do like Dijak. Like I don't like him when he's beating up on Eddie Thorpe, but I like him any other time. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna say Dijak. I think Dijak's definitely gonna win. I think he doesn't hurt Joe Gacy because he's in the middle of this metamorphosis, and I don't know where the end of this rainbow is, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'm a lot with Shay here, and same with Astrid. I don't really know who I want to win. Like, I love Dijak. I think Dijak's great. I've been watching him from his time with Jay Lethal and Ring of Honor, and the changes that he's made from Donovan Dijak to Dijakovic to being in Retribution as T-Bar to never forget T-Bar. Always remember T-Bar Retribution. Lord knows he does. Every time somebody says Retribution on Twitter, he's out there. Excuse you. And now he's having this you said metamorphosis for Joe Gacy, but I think that also goes for Dijak. He's having this resurgence of being able to have banger matches with pretty much anybody. I mean, he is the guy right now. He's the gatekeeper. If I had to pick one gatekeeper in NXT, I feel like he's that gatekeeper, but not in general, but I think he's the gatekeeper to the main event. He's the gatekeeper to getting to that next level in NXT. And I just wish he would have that opportunity to get that next level in NXT. I think he wins here because I think he needs to go on after Stand and Deliver to be the next thorn in the side of whoever comes out of Stand and Deliver as champion. And I hope that's Trick Williams. Because I think Dijak versus Trick Williams is going to sell tickets and sell seats. Because I think that's going to be a hell of a match to watch. Based on the little bit of it that we got inside the Iron Survivor. But Joe Gacy reminds me a lot. There's a lot of Bray Wyatt in Joe Gacy. He's got this creative mind. Now, he's not as... I don't think he's as creative as Wyndham. I don't think he's as creative as Bray. But I think he's got that same idea. He's got that same critical thinking of there's little things I need to do. And the little things are he put himself in the D'Angelo's trunk. He put himself on top of the building. He hid underneath the ring. He was Vince McGacy for a couple weeks on commentary. Like there's a whole like method to his madness. And I don't want to see that end. So I don't want him to lose, but at the same time, I feel like even if he loses, I don't think it hurt. Like you said, Jay, I don't think it hurts in any way, shape, or form to take an L here because nobody knows what's coming next from him. But Jaida doesn't have a good track record when it comes to no disqualification matches. Because I was there for the last one he had, that last man standing in Lowell against Ilja. And God, that one hurt. Like I was sitting in the seats and it hurt me watching. I can't imagine what it was like for Dijak. But I've got to go Dijak. I can't not. Anybody with lasting thoughts on this match?
Have you ever seen the movie Sin City? Tell me he is not cosplaying.
Oh, he absolutely. The whole vibe of him is
yes.
It's the whole black and white aesthetic as he comes to the ring. Oh no, it's absolutely noir detective, kind of like I'm the bad cop who needs to find justice. Almost like a Batman type thing. Like he's looking for justice. It doesn't matter how he gets justice.
Yeah. And vindicated now. Thank you.
And like Batman, he's beating up on the mentally ill. Don't go Gacy here. I heard this and I can never unsee it. All Batman is a rich man who beats up on the mentally ill. Because think about it. None of his villains ever go to prison. They all go to Arkham Asylum, which is a mental institution. All he's doing is beating up on mentally ill people. That's all he does. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. How to make Batman a villain in 5 words. I've broken both of my co-hosts, so we're going to go ahead and move on, and I'm going to go ahead with this one. The tag team match. They're a little hidden because of our pictures here, but we got the D'Angelo family on the bottom with Tony, Stax, and Rizzo going up against OTM. I love OTM. I love the family. I think they're great. I think Rizzo is so annoying that they've become heels, and I don't want to see them anymore because I just don't want to see her anymore. Her accent is so fake. And they're trying so hard to use them to get her over fast, as opposed to making her feel like a big deal. The part about Jaida that's different from Rizzo is they used Jaida to instantly make her feel like she has credibility within the team without making it feel like she's a big deal that we just don't know. Jada's all about fitting in with OTM and giving them the missing piece that they needed. Rizzo's just feels like, we need a girl in this group here. Can you pretend to be a Long Island mobster type chick? And it doesn't fit. That promo this week from OTM and from the family, it solidified in me the difference between these groups. OTM is about authenticity and feeling and making you feel something. Like that conversation about people don't like Jaida because she looks different, she talks different, she acts different, she hits different. It makes me feel things because I grew up in an area where I was different. I wasn't quite the same as everybody else that I grew up in. And it was a slightly different type of place. And I can understand the feeling of being different, looking different, and having that and how it affects you mentally, physically, and how it affects your attitude. And I'm getting more into OTM the more they dive into that portion of their authenticity. And it's nice to see, especially now in February, it's nice to see NXT making sure that they take authenticity into minority characters. They've been doing such a great job under Triple H and Shawn Michaels of Legado del Fantasma. Well, the name Santos Escobar obviously is what it is. The whole group felt authentic to what those guys and girls wanted it to be. Hit Row felt authentic to what Swerve wanted it to be, what B-Fab wanted it to be. And AJ and Adonis fit into that group because of that. It was all about being authentic and feeling authentic, so everything felt right. They're not Crime Time 2.0, is what a lot of people thought when we started seeing these vignettes. People got worried that OTM was going to be Crime Time 2.0. They did a very good job of making them something different. They want us to relate to them no matter who we are, whether it's me, whether it's Astrid, whether it's Shay. They want all of us to fit in and feel the way OTM feels, and that's why I want them to win, because I like them, and I want Tony D'Angelo and crew to go sleep with the fishes as long as Rizzo goes sleep with the fishes. Astrid.
Yeah, just like I understand how you felt, because I feel like Rizzo has been like forced in the family. That's how it feels like. And it feels like she doesn't fit with like the group in itself. And it makes me not want to enjoy Tony and Stax, even though I love them. Like, I don't want to see them on my TV because I know she's going to come in the corner pretty soon with that fake accent. And it just sounds terrible. But with Jaida, it feels more like she fits within that group. At first, I was wondering how she would fit and how she would be seen as part of the group. And then seeing the promo this week, you really did feel like she was part of the group, because I definitely understood where she was coming from. And they still echo her sentiment within the promo in itself. So I enjoy the team, and they're growing on me, and she's growing on me as well. So I'm hoping they do win this. Like, I feel like it will be one of those, because it's a 6-person match. I will see like maybe one of the girls will win it instead of being like Tony or Stax getting pinned at the end. So I think that kind of will save the team as a whole later on. And I just would like to see OTM be on top here and just say, look, we're here and we're here to stay. And this is will be like that, that kind of, to stamp that kind of approval to do that. So yeah, I hope they win at the end.
Miss Shay, what about you?
Yeah, I'm on board with OTM. I have been obsessed. Bronco Nima is one of the funniest people on NXT, and I will say it every week. He is so funny. The things that he says crack me up half the time. Because I am used to that. I understand that when you come from a rough place and you trying to maneuver yourself. So I understand that. But when he says it, it's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm sorry. It just is. He's great. I do agree with you about the thing with Rizzo. It's Rizzo, right? It's like what you said, like for Jaida, when she was added to OTM, it was because she was adding something to them, like because they were missing something. It was clear something was missing. Scripps was not doing it for me ever. So Jada's adding to them, whereas they're using the family to help Rizzo. And I really, the accent is a lot. Like I was trying to be patient because, you know, like every time every wrestler comes in with some aggressive accent, it slowly just goes away over time. I was like, let me just be patient with this. Like at this point, I was like, just be patient with this. I want OTM to win, and I think that, as you said, it'll definitely be between the women, and I think that Jaida is definitely gonna be getting that winning pin. I hope and pray.
Like I don't think it makes much sense for the family to win this match. Like other than putting Rizzo over, there really doesn't do anything for the family. Whereas if OTM wins this match, it gets them back in tag team contention. And I think if you can get a tag team title switch, and I'd hate this because if we're going to double switch them, I don't see Carmelo and Trick beating the family. I see that more being OTM, and even a short title reign for them. Because I think you can kind of hot potato that title over the next 8 weeks. I think you can hot potato that championship down the line to Stand and Deliver. And then by the time we come out of Stand and Deliver, you know, Bronco and Lucien can really have that big run with the title that they need. But maybe if there's a 2-week gap here where they hold the title and then lose it to Carmelo and Trick, or they retain it because Carmelo can't let Trick have that tag title. He can't do it. Like it gives him and Trick the same thing, but Trick's holding the title now, and so much chaos about all these matches based on that. But it'll be a fun match. And like I said, I don't take anything away from the wrestler Anna Kiefer and the character that she's trying to play. It's just, some get over, some don't, and I just want that character to go away. Come back with something new in 6 months, and you'll be all set. Speaking of characters who don't need to go away, and a man who's been pushed to the moon and back, Femi versus Dragon Lee. Astrid, I want to go ahead and give you the opportunity to talk first about these two fine gentlemen.
This is gonna be. I feel bad for Dragon Lee in this one at the end, because even though I like that, you know, that high flyer with the big guy type of match, in the end, Dragon Lee's gonna end up losing, and we're not gonna see him in NXT and after this. I know for sure, but he's gonna get so squashed by Femi, so I feel bad in that sense, but. Femi's gonna win this anyway, so I'm glad in that part of it. I just feel bad that it's gonna be Dragon Lee taking it, though. Yeah.
Shay, what do you think about Femi and the way they've pushed him since the beginning of the breakout tournament to now? It's been not more than 2, maybe 3 months tops, and he's already a champion. He's getting a big push. What do you think about that for this gentleman here?
I feel like at first I was kind of like, who's this? Like, what are we doing? The last time I saw him, he was throwing couches across the field. Like when they did that first vignette for him, I was like, okay. And then he's here beating up my favorites. It's so wrong. I mean, he's a specimen, and you know, they love these type of wrestlers, like huge, imposing. I mean, he does it well. He won me over. The week after he won, and he sat and he talked. I was like, okay, you're good. I like you. So it's like, I love Dragon Lee. I really do. I think he's so fantastic. I really do. I'm hoping they have a full like match. Like I don't want it to just be him tossing. Like I want to see, you know, like I know he's more seen as like a spectacle. I feel like he seems more like a spectacle. Like this huge man walks in a room, he's like, oh, you know, money, people, you know, the eyes go to it. But I also want to see like what goes on in between those ropes, though. Like is it just tossing, or can we do a little bit more? And I think if anyone is going to bring that out of him, it would definitely be Dragon Lee. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more from him besides tossing, but I know Oba is definitely winning.
Yeah, no, I'm an Oba feminist. From the moment I saw him, I was an Oba feminist, and I'm going to continue being one of them. I love that name. I saw it on Twitter. I'll never stop calling myself that. It's great. I love Oba Femi. Oba Femi, I repeat this every week. Oba Femi is everything WWE wanted Omos to be. He's big. He's burly. He's a massive brick of just man. But he can talk. He has that ability to connect to people with his voice. People ask me, is he a babyface or is he a heel? He's kind of an in-between, but they want him to be a heel. You know how I know they want him to be a heel? His title card literally says ruler behind his name. R-U-L-E-R. They want him to be a heel. He's playing this big Nigerian giant. And he's going to get over and he's going to do great things. I would love to see a full-fledged wrestling match out of this. I'm torn about whether or not that's what we're going to see. But I feel if they're going to give anything, they're going to give it to him with Dragon Lee. Because they trust Dragon Lee and they're going to have time to do so. I feel like Dragon Lee's almost got the short end of the stick because he's so good. He got no real moments in NXT because he was only going to be there for a short while and he never really got that big moment to have for himself. He never really got that definitive big win other than the win on Dom Mysterio to win the championship, which wasn't planned because he wasn't supposed to be the challenger and it was supposed to be Wesley's moment. But at least they treated him well in NXT and they're treating him well on the main roster. And at least they're giving him an opportunity to show off who he is and what he can do as opposed to having him sit backstage every week. Because we see how many times WB high flyers just sit backstage and don't do a whole lot. They invested from the moment he showed up to the moment he went onto the main roster in Dragon Lee and making him feel like a big deal. Using him to get over Noam Dar in that Heritage Cup. Going ahead and using him to try to put over Nathan Frazier, who for some reason just can't get any momentum on NXT. But the moment I knew this match was doomed is the moment that he squashed all three members of Dragon Lee and LWO at once. It was like, okay, this isn't going to be much. Like, he literally swatted Dragon Lee out of the sky like he was a bug. Like, this man is a big brick wall, and I can't be more down for it. So congratulations, Obafemi, on your retention of the North American Championship later on tonight. Anybody else have any thoughts before we move on? All right, we move on to what I'm assuming is going to be, because we all expect Trick Williams and Ilja to main event. So unfortunately, the women don't get to main event. But Shay, talk to us about Lyra Valkyria versus Roxanne Perez.
Oh, I'm excited about this one. They are two of the best women's wrestlers in NXT, in WWE, in general. So I know that they're going to give me something fantastic. Like, I'm really excited for that. But I also am really intrigued. This is something with Lyra. I feel like the addition of Tatum was fantastic because it's making her intriguing. Because love Lyra. I love her. The character, it was just very, it was kind of bland. It just wasn't anything there. You know, she's just like a good wrestler for me. Like, that's how I see it, because the character really wasn't all the way there. You know, the bird stuff, the running through the woods, it was not, it just wasn't landing with me. So this is like kind of adding a different layer to her. And I think Tatum is knocking it out of the park. Tatum, like, I have become such a big Tatum fan just from how she has done this. And I noticed, like, you know, she's adding all these moves into her arsenal, different moves. You know, she even took some moves from Stardom. I was like, okay, all right, Tatum. But yeah, no, I definitely think that Lyra's going to win. I think this is kind of like Roxanne's swan song, you know, from NXT, like definitely her last match. Yeah, Tatum's going to do something. Tatum's going to do something to make sure that Lyra wins. I don't know who's going to take this title from her, and that's what's like my thing. Ugh.
Yeah, there's so many ways that could go. Shay, I want to ask you, because we've been talking about this, and I'm scarily worried that this is where they're going. Do you think the women's big match at Stand and Deliver is going to be Lyra Valkyria versus Tatum Paxley?
I mean, I don't know, because I don't know from here to now how much the crowd is going to get behind Tatum, because that's what it like bases behind. If the crowd doesn't really get behind her, I'm gonna be like, it's a waste. It should be someone else who's been working. Like, I feel like Cora was definitely something that was on the table that's obviously gone now. That sucks. So it's like, now I look at I'm scoping out the scenery. I'm still a big fan of Blair Davenport. I wouldn't be upset if she was the one to take it from Lyra. I'm just not seeing right now anyone else. I mean, Ariana Grace, she just needs to kind of pick it up a little bit in the ring for me, but I think she's fantastic. But
oh god, we praise Ariana every week for the character work she's doing, because she is a gift. She is her father's daughter, that is for certain. She understands how important character work is. Yes, she's relatively good in the ring. Is she fantastic? Yeah, maybe not. Who cares? She's still new. But you know what she's got down that nobody else on this entire women's roster right now has? She has a definitive character that is over more than anything else. Whether people like it or people hate it, that Miss NXT gimmick. And it's not the first time they've done this. For those that remember FCW, this is not the first time they've tried to do a Miss NXT type gimmick or Miss FCW gimmick. But she's pulling it off way better than Shaw Guerrero ever tried to do it. But I feel like the Stand and Deliver women's match has to be a multi-person match at this point, with different stories all colliding into one. Maybe it's a ladder match again, because like I think you could get Tatum and Lyra into it as some kind of a story, and then you can get Blair Davenport and Nikita Lyons into it, because that story really hasn't finished itself. And with the Battle Royal, they push Nikita off to the side to make sure that those green girls don't hurt Nikita's knee again, because God forbid Nikita's knee gets hurt again. And then there's something else. I feel like there's two more that I think you could put in there. You know, you keep learning stories, you keep telling. Maybe it's a Ren Sinclair, and maybe it's a Lash Legend or Jakara Jackson if she's back. It could be a Fallon Henley, because Lord knows she's right at the top of that women's mountain. As for this match, it's Lyra Valkyria by default, because I don't think they're putting the title on Roxanne. I think there's no point. Roxanne's done everything she needs to do. And at this point, it's bide time until you have a plan for her on the main roster. You just brought up Tiffany, so you don't really need to do that. You just brought back Naomi. So it's probable that she's going to the Raw side. So my thing with that is you either put her in the chamber or you wait and you don't bring her up until after WrestleMania. And yes, that means she sits around and doesn't do a whole lot for the next 9 to 10 weeks. But at the same time, that could be good for her. Rehab, recover, go back into the PC, go back to Reality of Wrestling. Go do some shots for Booker over in Reality of Wrestling. Take some time, do her thing. Go hang out with Cora and make sure Cora's okay. She can do all kinds of fun stuff. The evolution of Lyra has been a sight to see, because me and Astrid were very critical of Lyra Valkyria early on. Neither one of us really remembered her much from NXT UK. I called her Bird Lady for a good 6 months when she came up. It wasn't even Lyra, it was Bird Lady, because that's all she was to me, because that's all they were telling me. But she's slowly improved in the ring. She has that new finishing move, which is, thank God, not that little itty-bitty tadpole splash thing that she was doing that did nothing to nobody. She's doing good. She's doing good character work. She's doing good in-ring work. She stepped up her game. She deserves to be the NXT Women's Champion. She's worked her ass off for it, and she's getting the rewards for it. But the who's next is really a question for me on that one. It's like, great, she's the champion. And what are we going to do? Because right now, the only story they're telling for her is Tatum Paxley. And that seems lackluster to me. Not because Tatum's anything wrong, but just because Tatum's not been built. Tatum's this brand new thing who's doing something. And then there's Lola Vice. And we're not going to get started on Lola Vice because I'm not going to get in trouble again. I got in trouble. I think I'm getting in trouble enough on the internet for talking about people. I'm not going to talk about Lola Vice this week. We'll save her ass shaking for next week. Astrid, what do you think about this match?
Yeah, I did definitely. I hate to root against Roxanne, you know that, but yeah, this is definitely Lyra's win. And just like you said, thinking about the scope, I know they have girls that could give us that good match later on against Lyra, but none of them are built up enough to like show us that they could be contenders for the championship, and that's where the issue lies right now. Because the only person that I could see was Blair, because she was the Iron Survivor, and then she just had one match and she was done. And we haven't seen much of her ever since. So that's what I think they decided to do this battle royal, to like figure out, okay, we'll do Roxanne for now, and then figure out what our next move is going to be and make some little storylines coming out of that battle royal. And then while we figure out who the next person is for Lyra, because I think like what we could see is like maybe at the beginning of the night, we had Tatum kind of apologizing to her for what happened on Tuesday again, kind of keep apologizing. It's like, oh, I'm not going to get involved. And then she ends up getting involved somehow without Lyra maybe noticing. And that's when Lyra gets the win. But again, at the end, it just like thinking of like, yeah, it could be Tatum in the match, but then we don't have Tatum built enough in that sort of way to be in a championship match. And I feel like that's the problem that we have. We, aside from obviously Roxanne right now, we don't have anybody right now that I could say, oh, this is definitely the next one. Look, they're building her up, giving her a bunch of wins and everything that's happening. And like we said, Lola's off my list for sure, because she already has that contract. So might as well cash it in. And I know she's going to lose it, unfortunately. But that's the only part for me is like, I don't see who will be the next person to go against Lyra. If Lyra comes out of nowhere, that could be the one. Because even if we have, for example, a Soruga return, I don't see her, like, unless she gets a couple wins, I don't see her being in the championship match just like off the bat like that. So that's the other one that I can think of. And like we had Kiana with Izzy, but again, Kiana hasn't been in the title picture either. And we have people like Fallon who could be another one that could be involved in that as well. But yeah, what I would do is like maybe take those like last couple girls that won that battle royal and put them in that ladder match, or maybe do some sort of match for a number one contender spot again, and figure out from there who's going to be involved in that. But yeah, just thinking this is definitely the last of Roxanne we're going to see in NXT. So I just see her shake. If I mean, my total perfect picture would be like her shaking hands with Lyra to end her running NXT. But I feel like with Tatum being involved, I don't see that really happening to end the match. But this is definitely the last we see of Roxanne here.
And just to reiterate on the women's division, because I feel like it's overlooked, and me and Astrid say it on a week in and week out basis, how well they booked this women's division and how many stories are being told constantly that don't revolve around the championship. I just want to list you off wrestlers who are currently active on the women's roster who we're seeing on television more often than not. Ariana Grace, Blair Davenport, Fallon Henley, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, Jakara Jackson, Carmen Petrovic, Kalani Jordan, Kiana James, Lash Legend, Lola Vice, Lyra Valkyria, Nikita Lyons, Roxanne Perez, Tatum Paxley. That doesn't even count some of the newer, younger women who are just starting, Ren Sinclair, people like that. Thea Hale's not on that list for some odd reason. I don't know why she's not on that list. NXT has the deepest, largest roster of women's wrestlers, and they utilize it so damn well to make sure that there are constantly something going on somewhere. Like right now, we have Ren Sinclair and Fallon Henley feuding with Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. On top of Fallon Henley feuding with Ariana Grace. Like, constantly things are going on. Lola just got done her feud with Elektra Lopez. Unfortunately, Elektra Lopez is gone and Lola's still here, but, you know, stuff happens. It is what it is. But I just want to say, even though there's one women's match on this card, I mean, I guess you can count the mixed tag as two. NXT does such a good job that even one women's championship match feels like it's a big match, feels like it's an important thing, and it's not just a match thrown on the card to have a women's match. And of course, we move on. We're going to let Shay talk first about this because she said she was going to gush, and we're going to put her over here with Ilja. Ilja Dragunov versus Trick Williams. Double duty Trick comes out again to close the night and take on Ilja Dragunov for the NXT Championship. Shay, who you got?
So here's my thoughts. Who I think is going to win and who I want to win, it's every day it's seeming like not the same thing. I just feel like Dragunov, he is so talented. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world, period. I'll fight anybody about it. He is. And it's like, I feel like he hasn't even, like, I feel like he hasn't had a title that long. Like, what? But it's like Trick Williams. And then I remember to myself, I have to always kind of bring myself back to reality with these things of like, NXT is not meant to be a permanent stay. It's meant to, once you figure out your character, once you are fully 100% like the full, you go on. And I feel like Dragunov has reached that point. Like, he has had such a shift from when we first saw him versus now. His talking is on point. Who he is, like he knows his character fully. The goatee is amazing. I've spoken it numerous times. He just knows who he is completely, and I'm like, yeah, they're definitely gonna take you. They're gonna take you to the dark place up there. And I'm kidding. But I'm just like, I just don't want it because I know that I love Trick. Do not get me wrong. I do love Trick Williams. I am a fan. But I know that the caliber of match quality is going to go down a tad bit with him taking the title. This is just the truth. I don't think he's a bad wrestler, but it's like going from Dragunov to Trick Williams, like it's apparent. Like it's a difference. So I'm just kind of like, I get it. I really, really do. And it will make sense for him to have the title also with his feud with Carmelo. It just makes sense. So Trick Williams is going to win despite my sadness of it.
Astrid, as you get ready, I'm just going to throw on some music so you can talk about Trick Williams. Before the video gets demonetized on YouTube. Not that it's monetized anyways, before they yell at us when I try to upload it.
I like how we all went to the same, like, yes, we're going to feel this. Yeah. I understand where she's coming from, trust me, because one thing is, like, we know Dragunov has a different kind of experience to what Trick has. But I feel like Trick has the fan base with him at this point, like the way that nobody has in quite a while. And I feel like you definitely had to like cash in on that right now before it dies down whatsoever. And I can only imagine what the crowd is going to be like when, you know, when the show ends and he has 2 championships on his shoulder and he's able to accomplish what Carmelo did before in like in one night, if you think about it that way. So yeah, I just like when you see somebody like that charisma that he has and that energy and that vibe, that, you know, the way he like goes in hand with the crowd, and a lot of people don't have it. They really don't. And it's like once you have it, you need to grab onto it and keep it. And they definitely need to do that with him. And I can only imagine how great it's gonna be between him and Carmelo. I'm like, it's gonna break me in half because I'm gonna love it because I know it's gonna be good, but I'm gonna hate it because I'm gonna hate that they're going against each other. But it is what it is. It's coming up. Thanks, Mark, for always putting this idea in our heads that we had never been able to stop thinking about. But it's definitely, it's gonna tear me in half. It really is. But I'm gonna enjoy it so much. It's gonna be one of the greatest moments in NXT when all this starts happening from beginning to end. I'm not gonna be able to forget about it anytime soon. But yeah, I can understand how like Dragunov's, he already has his character well done. And I feel like aside from winning the championship that obviously he has right now, I don't see anything else happening for him. So I was like, what else do you do nowadays? It's like between him, Roxanne, and Bron, and just like, skedaddle. It's time to get out of here because nothing else for you. So that's the only thing that I see with him. But I can only picture Trick Williams with 2 championships of the lights over. That's all I can see in my mind. So I'm definitely giving it to him.
I mean, Gunther needs an opponent for WrestleMania. I'm just saying. Ilja Dragunov's right there, and Gunther needs an opponent, and Gunther needs to lose that Intercontinental title. It just kind of, it all kind of fits perfectly into this place at a WrestleMania match. Which, like, think about it. These guys have had 5-star matches in front of no crowd and in front of a crowd in NXT UK. Imagine what that match is going to be when it's on a WrestleMania stage in front of 70,000 people. Like, just think of that match with Gunther at the top of his game, better than ever, with Ilja Dragunov having more fan momentum than he's ever had, with like you said, an eye on his character more than he's ever had. He is the most complete Ilja Dragunov that we've ever seen in the NXT version. And you got 10 weeks to Mania. All you need is 5 weeks of him on the main roster to get him ready for Gunther, and he'll be there and he'll be ready. And that's a Mania main event. Just boom, just write it in. Just write it in there. It just fits. Plus, we've been lucky in this day and age to have so many moments of wrestlers just overcoming, just being a hot wrestler and being something different. Whether it be Rusev Day, whether it be Daniel Bryan in the B+ player, whether it be Kofi Mania, and now we've got Trick Williams. And it's not just like everybody's like, it's just a song. It's not just the song. The song creates a vibe that the wrestler channels, that the crowd feels and connects to. There's something special about this. And the reason I know that is because when he went to SmackDown, that same crowd that's different than the NXT crowd popped for him on SmackDown to the point that it got people on SmackDown to notice and go, we might want that one. He's good. They like him. He needs this. This match has been building ever since Apollo Crews got drafted, and he talked to Trick Williams, and he gave Trick his own separate advice from Carmelo Hayes, to John Cena talking to both Melo and Trick, and then Trick talking to Cena about when was it time to just do you. And Cena took him aside and was like, all right, let me tell you how you do this. All of it's been built to the attack that Carmelo Hayes did on Trick Williams. Because, Victor, it was always Carmelo. I know, Victor, you want to say it's not. It is. It always has been. It always will be Carmelo Hayes. It was always Melo. That man attacked his best friend to make sure he had a shot at the championship. That's all there is. That's all there will ever be. But that match needs the world championship. It needs to be the main event of Stand and Deliver. It is Carmelo Hayes' swan song. He is going to go out there and deliver the match upon matches. It will be his best match that he's ever delivered. When he goes back behind that curtain, he's going to go, I can't do any better than that. Because him and Trick have been probably planning this match for 6 months, going over exactly how they want to do it and everything else. The story's there. There's no bigger story in NXT. This is probably the biggest NXT story since Kevin and Sammy. And that's why I think it's so great that if that's the case, if people other than me think that's the case, do the Kevin Sammy thing. Have Trick win here tonight. Have Melo out there shaking his hand, giving him a big hug, talking about how everything's great, and then have him turn. Have him just knock him down to size, break the Dusty Cup over the back of Trick Williams, whatever you have to do. Go violent if necessary. Bring out the badness that is Carmelo Hayes, the venom and the anger of watching your best friend do what you should be doing. Because Carmelo has always been a him guy. He literally says it, I am him. It's not we are him, it's I am him. Carmelo Hayes is above anything a solo act. And Trick Williams was always there just to kind of ease Carmelo's road. I don't need you to be here to win my matches, but just in case I need you, I need you to be there. And I think you bring all that out in that attack. Make it violent. Make it angry. Make it feel something, because people are going to hate him when he finally admits that it's him. If he breaks down and beats up Trick Williams, where Trick's out for 2 or 3 weeks and comes back, the venom that will be thrown at Carmelo Hayes. We saw a tiny snippet of it when he was interlacing his own music in the Whoop That Trick this week when they came out to the ring, and the crowd was booing him. It's going to be that times a million if he turns on Trick at the end of this match. And that is Vengeance Day. Sounds like it's going to be a good show. Shay, which match are you most excited for on this card?
I gotta say the one right behind us. I'm ready. I'm just ready to see it. I'm excited. We're getting closer to Stand and Deliver.
Shay, where can the good people find you on Twitter, on Instagram, all those fun places? Where can they find you and all the wonderful things that you do?
Yes. So you can find me at Shay Sawyer _ on Twitter. You can find me at Shay Sawyer Was Here on Instagram. You can find my podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Every Monday, the Big Pop Theory podcast with my co-host, The Bad Guy. And you can catch me on Tuesdays for bodyslam.net exclusive the Meta 2 after show. I know the Meta 2, but you can catch me there on Tuesdays for the NXT after show. And yeah.
Astrid, where can the good people find you this week?
You can find me on my Twitter and Blue Skies, Astrid Pizarro, and then Threads and Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20. But after tonight, and when we do our post show, then you can find us again on Tuesday, taking over, talking again about our hearts breaking all over again on NXT.
And remember that if you want to go ahead and support Astrid, if you're getting your Mania gear ready, make sure you go ahead and use this QR code to Astrid's WWE shop affiliate link. You can go ahead and scan this QR code to go ahead and pay the same price for all your WWE shop goodies, but make sure you put a little bit of that money back into Astrid's pocket so she can go ahead and recoup the money she spent on the Royal Rumble tour that she did to go ahead and be media for the Royal Rumble. And if you want to look as great as you can, make sure you go ahead and pick up the Astrid Pizarro t-shirt that you can go ahead and pick up on For Your Wear. You can go ahead and scan this QR code as you see the lovely Melball Collins, her co-host on Ladies Wrestling Showcase. And, of course, the wonderful, our good friend Mike the Ref here going ahead and showing off their merchandise. So you can go ahead and check all that out for Astrid right there. And, of course, for me, mine's easy. You can find me on Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me on the Twitch at twitch.tv/edfries, where I simulcast all of the content that I put on our local establishment as well over there. And sometimes you can even catch a gaming stream or two. We will be back, like I said, Tuesday night. We're going to be taking over. We'll be back later on tonight for the Vengeance Day post show right after the show goes off the air. So make sure you catch us for that. And of course, Marvel Talk is coming back soon as we're going to be having the MCU Rebound episode for Iron Man 2 coming up. So please make sure you go ahead and check that out. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you, Shay, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. We hope you had fun. And we hope to see you back again.
I will be.
Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.